be seated. On behalf of Barbara and Richard, I'd like to welcome everyone here this evening as we gather for this joyous occasion. I know they're grateful each and every one of you is present this evening. We are here to join this man and this woman in marriage and to share in the joy of this occasion, which should be one of the most memorable and happy days of their lives. We are here to celebrate one of life's greatest moments by acknowledging the wedding of Barbara and Richard. And at this time, I'm going to turn the show over to Barbara and Richard. Dramatic pause.
I thought it was.
Well, I pushed the on button.
No.
Hi, Dan. Nice to see you. Well, let me tell you a story on the way here today.
Here it is.
Working?
Yeah.
Okay, can I have one of those? It's just Bella. Okay. So, if you've read your programs at all, you know what's happening now, and if you haven't, you can figure it out, yes. August 14th, the night we met, after we went home. At the end of an email I sent with some bibliographical information about a book I had mentioned to Barbara on the history of the kiss, I wrote, "I know it's redundant, but I greatly enjoyed our time this evening."
August 15th. Good morning, Richard. It looks like another lovely day in the neighborhood. Have you ever been to Shakespeare in the Park, Egerton?
I'm happy to try it, but my experience of such productions is not encouraging. As an actor myself, I may be too demanding, but I am what I am. Remember, this was email. I am largely, but not universally, game to try new things before I reject them.
I completely understand your critical eye when it comes to theatrical productions. I've heard, however, that these at Egerton Park are really not too bad, and the ambiance is quite lovely. Last night was truly pleasurable, 4 hours of beginning to get to know each other.
Yes, indeed. I note that I say things here about sexuality I would not normally dream of saying to someone I knew for 4 hours, but you set the good tone, which I appreciate.
And that will not change. Sexuality is one of the many topics about which I have always, well, as an adult anyway, been completely open. One of my favorite t-shirts says, "Read a banned book," and then on the back it lists about 12 books that have been banned in the U.S. school system. I deeply resent taboo subjects, as they usually stifle free expression.
I don't like taboos either, but I would have a more tempered view. Of course, some taboos are to stifle free expression, and all taboos by definition seek to stifle something.
A society must have some basic ground rules, and one's freedoms in general should be tempered by the impact of one's actions on others. The old crying fire in the crowded theater, for example.
I don't like people who ignore social rules and laws that help maintain a minimum level of decorum. Spitting on the sidewalk, punching someone, turning over garbage cans.
It really stretched my liberal philosophy when I was confronted in my sequestered town of Cheshire, about a half a block from a synagogue, by the Klan some years ago. They came up to the car window when we were stopped at a traffic light. Naturally, they were all dressed in full regalia, all in white, hooded. It reminded me of Skokie. I agree philosophically in the abstract with the ACLU's position, and I kept up my membership, but without any emotional enthusiasm.
Just remind you, this is the day after we met. This dismissal of some rules for basic social order is what came to make me feel alienated in New York City. The common attitude, and I don't like New York attitude, that exudes, stay out of my space, which is wherever I decide.
Yeah, that used to drive me crazy when we lived in Riverdale from 1967 to 69. We commuted to Columbia P&S on public transportation. But in retrospect, I've mellowed out. Did I tell you about my amygdala theory of mellowing out? I don't think so. Add that to the list. I assume that when you said that even if we become friends but don't develop a romantic relationship, It was because of your trust issues and your past divorces and all, not because you were not attracted. My spell check program rejected unattractive to me. That thought occurred to me as I was driving home, or I would have asked you at the time.
What? I find you pretty, so that's not an issue. I'm not used to white hair.
I had gray hair.
White.
White? White. That's interesting. I kept mine colored for years because I got tired of fighting ageism and because it gave me more credibility with teenagers when I taught human sexuality at Hamden Hall. When I was going through chemo for ovarian cancer, my hair started falling out. Impatient, I shaved my head. I was pretty happy with the result. In fact, when I wasn't wearing wigs, scarves, and hats, I was in your face bald at many public occasions.
And in fact, she sent me a couple of photographs of herself bald. You're cute.
Thanks, I appreciate that.
And I think that comes in part because you generate great energy that I assume comes from your continuing zest for life.
Yep, no caffeine or uppers for me. I'm just naturally upbeat and high energy. Some people are frightened away by that. In fact, a counselor in a private relationship company suggested I try to tone myself down. I will not do that. I couldn't fake my personality through an entire long-term relationship.
Remind me to tell you about the contrary vibes I get from many women on dating sites.
I'd be most interested. And in turn, I shall tell you about some of the men I've met on these sites and what some of their outrageous profiles say, particularly the men who are younger than my son Rick and who write me passionate love letters.
Huh? And even though I don't expect to be ready for it anytime soon, I have to confess to curiosity about what new sexual vistas may be opened up to me should we eventually decide to go that route.
I think we're embarrassing the children. You know, to be perfectly candid, and I can't imagine anything else in a relationship that may develop with you, I have not even kissed anybody since Irwin died.
Now that does surprise me, though only because you come across as so out there.
Yeah, somebody I met at an elder hostel program over New Year's in Carmel, California, seemed to have the hots for me.
Can you blame him? You're a hot tamale.
Yeah, he wanted to bring me home to show off to his two grown sons. We were at opposite ends of the spectrum, politically, educationally, socially, everywhere. I wasn't attracted to him at all. But he suddenly grabbed me and kissed me on the lips, out of the blue. I'm quite comfortable with hugging, but I'd need to move slowly sexually in any case. Think about it, a half a century almost, with only one person. And I'm a confirmed monogamist, so there was never anyone else for me during those years. So your reticence to rush forward in this department is absolutely fine with me at this point. And I should add that the reason I was angry about the kiss is that I felt nothing for him. Not to worry, that's the antithesis of how I feel about you.
2, I should ask in return whether you find me physically attractive. I know these things are crapshoots, so I'd rather be honest about it from the start.
Absolutely. First came my being drawn to your smile, and next came my cerebral attraction to you, and picking up the numerous vibes between us. All of that is a requisite for the development of physical attraction in my book. If we were in a serious relationship, I would probably tease you into trimming your eyebrows, because I have a thing about that.
Another woman to kvetch about my eyebrows. Oh, how I am besieged by intolerant forces.
I used to urge Irwin to keep his eyebrows trimmed.
3, my reference to friendship versus romance is primarily driven by the fact that I so enjoyed your company, mind, conversation, that I would hope that if romance doesn't evolve, I wouldn't lose those.
I would not mind at all if our relationship went in a romantic direction. Funny story. I once asked Irwin very early in our marriage who his best friend was. I thought it was almost a rhetorical question, and that he would respond that I was his best friend. His answer? Let's see now. I'd have to say it's Ellie Yeager, yes. That was his childhood friend. Remind me to tell you about the Ellie Yeager story.
All right, it appears we must start to make a list of stories we invite the other to ask about.
I responded, and not exactly a paragon of tact at that point, "You're my best friend, Irwin." And in later years, we look back on that and we were able to joke about it, as it became increasingly clear that we were, in fact, each other's best friends. I can't imagine a marriage of which I were a part in which that would not be the case. Speaking of marriage, my estate attorney, who fancies me his younger sister, he's in his 80s and he's a real sweetheart, has told me that he gives my dating his seal of approval and he wouldn't even mind my living with someone, but he doesn't want me to get married again. He's looking at it from a money, estate, and inheritance point of view.
Good. 5. But yes, I'm scared, not consciously. I'm trying to figure out what I meant by this next sentence. I'm not ready to settle into a single relationship. Thank you. Side coaching. Oh, I go on. So I do. Yes, we. 6. That was 5. 6. The trust issue is not about multiple marriages, but about the most recent relationship. The trust is A, how can I know even the most loving, connected woman won't find in 15 years that I'm no longer right for her? And B, how do I trust myself to make a good decision?
And if you don't, would that be the end of the world?
What? It wouldn't be. How's that possible? I joke, but it does feel that way, regardless of my understanding to the contrary.
I have a different outlook when it comes to decision making, especially with big decisions. I sleep on it, consider it from all the vantage points I can, then I do what feels right for me, and in my mind and in my gut. If in later years, in retrospect, it looks as though I made a wrong decision, well, so what? I was really impressed last night with, that was our first night, with how you've been... Yeah, our first meeting, right. I was really impressed at how you've been able to work on such emotional issues and on getting to know yourself. I know very few men who would even be willing to embark on such a journey, much less follow it through.
I self-consciously confess that I like hearing that. I'm not one to shirk facing up to hard truths about myself and trying to deal with them. And taking a risk, which is mostly about my mistrust of myself, will not be easy. On the other hand, I'm damned if I want to live the next few decades alone.
Ditto. If I didn't feel that way, believe me, I wouldn't have gone to Match.com or to that senior site.
I know that on your end, 10 months after losing what seems to have been a wonderful life partner for 47 years, phenomenal, you must be careful in your own way.
Yes, but I trust my instincts, even if some of my friends may be shocked that I'm meeting people, quote, so soon after Irwin died.
I wouldn't have thought of it, and I doubt this would be universal. But I understand and admire why you want to find another solid relationship, even if no one can ever replace Irwin.
Yes, it's based on, in part, on knowing what wonders are possible in a really good relationship, on having developed some insight into how to make and keep it that way.
I warned you I often write long emails.
Here it is, 9 o'clock p.m., and I have forgotten again to eat. One of the downsides of living alone. With an electronic hug, Barbara, a.k.a. BRB.
A hug in return.
August 16th, 12:06 a.m. Midnight. What's a 3-letter abbreviation for the organizer of, quote, many a sit-in? It's number 10 down in today's New York Times crossword puzzle.
12:26 a.m. SDS? 10:16 a.m. What I most miss in my otherwise lovely compact apartment is doing laundry in it. I have to go outside a short distance. The woes of renting.
When calculating what you would give up financially, were you to move in with someone, be sure to add in the cost of laundry.
Perhaps we need to schedule a meeting just to review our email exchanges and add comments. Snippets from the next several days.
August 17th, 10:59 a.m. Good morning. I'm sitting in the airport awaiting my flight to Chicago and then on to Portland and reading the New York Times. Be sure to read the front page article on the Taliban mullahs, flexing their muscles and acting inhumanely, ostensibly in the name of Islamic law. It has snapped me out of a mellow mood and has made my blood boil.
Haven't read this, don't have the paper yet, but I've gotten the idea from headlines. Arg. Also going to make it seem more reasonable not to get out of Afghanistan. I hate this behavior that encourages anti-Muslim fervor in the West. August 19th, 1941 p.m. I sent a catch-up email with 36 itemized comments, all short. You can guess what happened to that message in the coming days.
I should mention that I was writing all my emails on an iPhone. Very tiny. August 24th, 3:07 a.m. A brief music course, music history course, a short discourse on the subject follows. Oh, August 25th, 1:15 a.m. Guess what weekend workshop I once took with Betty Dodson? Some of you know. If you ask me nicely, I shall tell you all about it someday.
August 27th, 12:04 p.m. I haven't received an email from you in over 5 minutes. I guess the magic is over.
7:32 p.m. A biological comment I feel compelled to make, based on what I figured out and put together over the years, even though I imagine it's after the fact. Fruit is protected to some extent from rotting by the skin and the peel, and then a few similar sentences follow. At this point, you're probably tempted to hit delete and stop reading.
Okay, you made me laugh. And all the foregoing makes sense. Of course, I never thought about it. I did think you were about to tell me that my fruit salad, which I promised you, was irredeemably compromised.
Anyway, you're probably thinking that some of the fruits can rot even if their peel is not cut. And then I went on for a few more sentences. August 28th, 3:54 p.m. Hang in there, we're almost done. Guess what came in the mail today? Yup, you must be clairvoyant. Season tickets to Long Wharf, including complimentary tickets for a guest of my choice to not one, but 2 plays. So I played the cards right. And also got Yale rep tickets in the mail today. What a coincidence, huh?
Let's not plan too far ahead yet. Tempting as it is. But I would love to go to as many shows as we can while we remain interested in each other.
I shall assume that your question about what makes the flesh of the fruit ripen, even if the fruit is uncut, is not a rhetorical question, and I shall respond based on what I figured out over the years. Kind of the Beitch hypothesis of adaptiveness of fruit ripening. Fruits such as apples and peaches are selected for because they attract predators, and on for some more sentences.
So the fruit is not rotting, but ripening to allow reproduction.
The most fascinating question to me is, and then several more questions. Stick with me, baby, and you'll learn sentences. Yes, of course. Stick with me, baby, and you'll learn more than you ever wanted to know about botany and other fascinating biological wonderments. And then several more sentences on fruit and rotting. How come you don't ever tell me cool things about 16th century literature and ideas, huh?
Have you asked, huh? Be careful what you wish for. I could go on at length about my specialized knowledge, but I never expect anyone to be interested. Did you tell me you hate plus signs?
No. I didn't tell you I hate plus signs. Plus, capitalized to emphasize what I hate. What I meant was that I hate conjunctification of prepositions.
Don't you mean conjunctivosity-nissification?
See what I mean?
Actually, no.
We destroy some of the versatility of language when we stop distinguishing between different parts of speech.
Well,
Back to me? I guess we should give him a round of applause.
Who should go first with vows?
Richard.
What, Barbara?
Richard. I thought we were going to toss a coin. Can you hear us without this? No. Okay.
Could you hear us with it?
Yeah.
All right.
Sir.
There was a vote of 1-0 with about 80 abstentions for me.
here we stand at a climax of a whirlwind romance. In the wake of separate griefs, that we once feared would shape the remainder of our separate lives. But we met. How many times have we said, with awe, how lucky we are to have found each other and to get the chance to fashion a new life that will keep us flourishing as we age together. So much good, both practical and intangible, already exists in our new lives. It's hard to know what else to vow. I can say this. Everything already good between us will continue, and more so. I will continue to work on myself and with you to be a good partner. I will continue to work with you to pursue a life that keeps our minds and bodies active and sharp. I will continue to seek to be supportive of your needs, anxieties, fears, desires, aspirations. When, inevitably, I don't get that all right, I will continue to own my mistakes. I will learn to love you more and better as the days and years pass. We both deserve no less. I place my love and life in your powerful hands.
Who made those rules? Do we get honor rules?
I think we can
Please
make
go.
up our own. We didn't read each other's vows, so there's a lot of overlap. My wedding vows to you. For months I've been thinking about what I wanted to pledge to you on our wedding day. Because I'm human and I may fall short of my pledges, writing vows is not an easy task, but here goes. Support. I promise always to be at your side and on your side, and to support you in all your endeavors, joys, and hardships. When I disagree with you, I will take a step back and try to understand your vantage point. I will work hard to express my differing point of view while respecting yours. Health. We're not spring chickens, and we weren't when we met, but we're doing everything we can to make up for lost time. I will do my part to keep both of us healthy, so that we can come as close as possible to meeting your often stated goal of the two of us living forever, with all of our faculties intact and bodies that work well and look great, of course. Different histories. Because we have very different histories in our past relationships and our professional backgrounds and more, we continue to learn from each other and about each other. In some ways, I think our differences, rather than acting as obstacles in our relationship, actually bring us closer. I promise to work at being respectful of your history and understanding you in that context, and of being comfortable in sharing with you my history, even when it entails emotional risk-taking. The mind. Intellectual stimulation is important to both of us. I will continue to explore and nurture opportunities for us to enjoy learning opportunities, both as students and as teachers, separately and as a couple. Humor. Humor is an essential cornerstone in our relationship. I will focus on that when we're faced with difficulties, medical, emotional, and otherwise. And I'll remember always to welcome laughter and joy in our home. Retirement. In our so-called retirement, we spend a lot of time together. In spite of that, I promise to give you whatever space you need for personal reflection and growth, confident that at the same time you will do the same for me. Romance. I promise to nurture the romantic component of our relationship and keep it fresh. Love and sexuality are not just for kids. Intellectual banter. I will try very hard not to be right every time. And to give you...
You want to start from the top again?
And I will...
They're all-
My house.
What happened to this sharing?
And I will remind both of us when appropriate that perfection is not what it's cracked up to be. Communication. Knowing how frustrating it is to you when I ask a question that you answered moments before, I shall keep searching online for a replacement marquee that is larger and that allows for more text. Sex. Like a good wine, improves with age. I shall say no more on this subject lest I embarrass the youngsters at this august occasion. Love. Finally and foremost, it goes without saying that I will love you.
Oh, you can do whatever you want. Damn right. It's your day. Okay, Barbara and Richard, being assured that you're aware of the meaning of the ceremony, I will now ask you to share your marriage. Do you, Barbara and Richard, take one another as your lawful wedded spouse, to have and to hold from this day forward, for better, for worse, for richer, for poorer, to love and to cherish all the days of your life?
I do. The
Izzy,
ring
would you
bearer.
come forward with the ring, please?
Izzy.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Did you use a special knot that he can't untie? Jason, use a special knot that he can't untie.
Izzy. Izzy, I need you again.
Oh!
Poor baby. Poor baby. I'm sorry. You tried so hard. It's okay. Don't leave, Jason.
With this ring, we thee wed, and forever pledge our devotion. Please join hands. By the act of joining hands, you take to yourself the relation of husband and wife, and solemnly promise to love, honor, comfort, and cherish each other so long as you both shall live. Therefore, in accordance with the law of Connecticut, and by virtue of the authority vested in me by the law of Connecticut, I do pronounce you husband and wife. You may kiss your groom. Barbara and Richard, in closing, I'd just like to say you came here as two single people who will leave here a married couple. And on behalf of your family and friends, we wish you the very best. And I present to you the newly married couple, Barbara and Richard.